Hi class, I hope everyone's having a good evening. As you guys know, tomorrow is September 11th, so we are going to focus on reflecting on the events that took place on September 11th and why were those events significant. So why were they important? How did they impact our country? We're going to be relating them to character education, specifically to the character traits compassion and integrity. So your homework assignment is to learn the definition and examples for each of these. So what does integrity mean? What does compassion mean? And what kind of examples could you give me for each of the character traits? Overall, I want you guys to get an understanding of what was September 11th. Like I said, why was it important? How did it impact our country? So keep those things in mind as you're going through this lesson. So the name of our lesson is called Unsung Heroes. Our objective for our lesson is that you will learn and list examples of the character traits, integrity, and compassion with the use of informative text and a video. So here you see two videos, okay? Your first video, this first video, is going to give you a real-life footage of the events that took place on September 11th. So you're going to see people talking, news reports, and just the actual things that we saw that day of September 11th, okay? The second video is a teacher who does a really good job of explaining the events to his class. So he does a really good job of using things that you all can relate to really help you understand what was September 11th and how did people feel on that day. So I need for you guys to please watch both videos. Please take notes as you're watching the videos because you are going to need them as you go throughout this lesson. And we are probably going to reflect on your notes tomorrow in class. So your first thing to do on today's lesson is to watch these videos. Next, you are going to write a paragraph on these three questions. So after watching the videos, please reflect your thoughts. So what stood out to you about the videos? So what was maybe something new that you saw that you didn't know before? Maybe something that you had heard but didn't really understand until you watched the videos. Just something that really spoke to you while watching the videos. The second question is, what do you think victims were feeling at the time of the attacks? So what were they feeling? Were they mad? Were they sad? Were they worried? What were you think they were feeling? Okay. The last question is, what do you think they were thinking at the time of the attacks? So we're going to build on the question of feeling and talk about what were they thinking. So because they were sad, they thought this, or because they were mad, they were thought this. Please make sure you write a paragraph for each of these questions and really do a very thorough job of explaining your thoughts, okay? After you see right here the definitions for compassion and integrity, okay? So compassion. Compassion is caring about how others feel. Compassion is doing kind and thoughtful deeds for people in need. Compassion often means putting others people's needs before your own. Okay, so here we have the definition for compassion. Please take some time and read it over again. Like I said, this is the focus of our lesson. You are going to need it as you go through this Prezi, and we are going to talk about it specifically tomorrow in class. Our next definition that we are really going to focus on is integrity. So integrity means being strong enough to do what you know is right. Integrity means knowing the difference between right and wrong and choosing to do the right thing even when it is difficult. So this one's really important, specifically right here where it says choosing to do the right thing even when it is difficult. So think about these two definitions as you're going through the lesson. Again, you're going to need them as you go through this Prezi and our lesson for tonight, and we're going to be talking about them in class tomorrow. Next up, you have a closer look about a story about someone that was in the Twin Towers the day of September 11th. The name of this article is called The Story of an Unsung Hero. So what I need from you guys is to read this article. And while you're reading it, please keep in mind the videos that you previously watched. Also keep in mind the definitions of compassion and integrity, okay? Because you're going to, again, reflect on these two questions. You're going to write a paragraph, okay, based on what the article that you just read. So how did the people in the videos and articles show compassion? So how did this character in the title show compassion? How did the teacher perhaps, how did the people in the Twin Towers perhaps show compassion? And likewise, how did they show integrity? Did it make a difference? And how? So these are very strong questions. I'm very much excited to hear what kind of answers you guys come up with. So remember, a paragraph to really describe your thoughts. And that is it for our lesson. And like you guys know, when we end a lesson, we debrief, okay? So we're going to debrief and keep these in mind. You don't have to write these down, but we are going to talk about them in class. So this is just things to kind of keep in mind. So in this lesson, what is integrity? From this lesson, what is compassion? And why did these characters traits were very important? So why are these character traits important? Okay? So think about these 3 questions. Please go through and do the assigned work. Watch the videos, answer the reflect questions, read the definition, read the article, and answer the last reflection questions. And last but not least, remember these 3 debrief questions because we are going to talk about them in class tomorrow. Okie dokie. Well, that is it for our lesson. Hope you guys have a good evening. Please remember to email me if you guys have any questions or anything. And I can't wait to hear your guys' responses tomorrow. Have a good night.